Hi there, and today I'm going to do some more minifig accessory upscaling and also give you some updates on two other current projects. So yes, like I said, today I'm going to do a little bit more upscaling of a minifig accessory, but also give you some updates to two other projects that I've been working on in the last few weeks. But before we get into that, as always, a quick shout out to all my channel members. Thank you so much for your support. And if you'd like to support the channel and maybe get your name on a brick in my videos, you can click on the join button below this video or the link in the description and it'll tell you how. But first of all, a few updates on two other projects. So firstly, the project that so many people have been messaging me about, and that's of course the Upscale mini loader. Now I can't actually believe I started this project way back in May, and so many other projects have taken priority over it, but we are so close to finishing it with just one more video to go to make the scoop at the front of the loader. And you'll be pleased to know that fingers crossed that video will be next week. I have this sea of yellow pieces with just one more order to arrive, and then I think I've got everything I need to make the hinge plate and the scoop at the front. I've also obtained a lot more pieces to make extra yellow upscaled studs. And that's because at the end of the last video, I asked you the question, would it be good to have all the parts which sit on top of this 4x4 plate removable? So that would be the steering wheel, the 1x2 stud, 1x2 brick, the two 1x1 round bricks, which are meant to represent the exhaust pipes, and of course that 2x3 black plate. Now currently on the upscaled version, where the 2x3 plate is, there aren't any upscaled studs underneath it, and I want to be able to remove this piece, so we're going to have to modify the upscaled plate and add some more studs underneath. And then for LEGO exhibitions and shows, all the parts on top here will be removable, and I think that'll just be a little bit of extra added fun for visitors to the show. So hopefully, like I said, that'll be next week's video, and if you could all keep your fingers crossed for me that the weight of the upscaled scoop won't droop under its own weight like the original one does quite often here. And if you're new to the channel, before next week's video, what you could do is pop back and have a look at all the videos so far, where I've built all the other parts of the mini loader itself and of course the upscaled workman to go with it. You can either search for mini loader on my channel, or on my homepage there's also a playlist of all the videos put together. And then the next project update is obviously every spaceman is awesome. And in my video 2 weeks ago, I bought the new family Christmas tree set, just to get the air tanks and the classic space helmet in light green. And I left you with the question, should this guy be allowed into the display even though he doesn't have a classic space torso? Now my rule up until now has always been the minimum requirement to get into the display would be a classic logo on the minifig's torso. And that's why for a while the dark blue spaceman had the wrong coloured air tanks and a motorcycle helmet. And that's also why the light blue spaceman, even though he's got light blue air tanks, has bunny ears instead of a helmet. Because they had a logo on their chest, they got into the display. Now obviously the three elements that we need for a classic spaceman are the classic space helmet, the classic logo on the torso, and of course the air tanks. And lots of people have commented saying yes, he doesn't have the logo on the torso, but he does have 2 out of the 3 elements that we need. So maybe we should let him in. However, I feel him in the display without a logo on his torso would just spoil it slightly. However, I've managed to come up with a solution which adheres to my rules and also uses all genuine Lego parts. So how am I going to get a light green torso with a genuine Lego classic space logo on it? And the answer is stickers. Now I've got 2 sticker solutions and I'd like to hear your comments below on which one you think would be best. And the first one is this sticker sheet from a Brickhead set, and that was a set called Go Brick Me, which was set 41597, and on the sticker sheet from that set you get all these different icons including a classic space logo. Unfortunately these stickers are on a clear background, so you can stick it on whatever colour you like and the colour will show through. And as you can see, the logo is pretty much spot on the right size. It might be ever so slightly smaller than the printed logo, but I think we could get away with it. So the Go Brick Me sticker sheet is solution number 1. And solution number 2 involves this guy in yellow. And that's because I found out of all the myriad sets that this yellow spaceman was in, one of them, set 6872, which in some countries was called Xenon X-Craft, and in other countries it was called Lunar Patrol Craft, he didn't come in that set with a printed torso. For some reason, some of the sets had a minifig in there with a plain yellow torso and a sticker sheet with a logo on it. Now the red and the white spacemen in the very first years of classic space also had stickers on their torsos, however they were body coloured, so the white astronauts had a white sticker and the red astronauts had a red sticker. And the thing about this set is that it was on a clear background. Now the sticker wasn't torso shaped, it was just a square sticker on a clear background with the classic logo on it, but it was a classic space logo in a classic space set, and I'd be happy to use one of those to add to my light green spaceman. So I've got one of those on order, so hopefully that'll arrive soon, and with the light green parts that I've got from the original set, that means we can include him into this display. display. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this one's a cheat, or do you think I'm justified to use a genuine Lego sticker to add this guy to the display? But on to this week's minifig accessory upscaling. So the last accessory, which I 6 times upscaled, was the classic minifig envelope. And if you missed that video but you'd like to watch it, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Now, after making the upscaled minifig envelope, I got lots of comments from people asking me to upscale other minifig accessories. Now, I did get some good suggestions, but I thought I'd look through my box of minifig utensils, and I thought I'd go for another classic and an accessory that's been around since the 80s, and that's the little minifig suitcase or briefcase. Now, like I said, these have been around since the 80s, and I remember getting my first one in a Legoland Town People Pack. Now, these are made out of a slightly softer plastic than regular Lego bricks, and that's because you can open them up, and part of the suitcase itself is used as a hinge, so you can fold it in half, and they're just big enough to fit a 1x1 square tile inside. So I've got a whole host of brown pieces, and I don't think I've ever done a project before where I've actually had to buy this many brown pieces. But as with lots of my projects, I've built this in Bricklink Studio. I've checked it for stability in there, but I haven't actually built it in real bricks. I even used the hinge function in Bricklink Studio to open and close it to see how my hinge mechanism would work. And the software said it would work, however you can never be 100% sure until you start building it. And anyone who watched my upscaled workman's vest video will know that what I designed in Bricklink Studio wasn't entirely stable in real life. The other problem I had was I wanted to use this 1x1 plate with clip. However, this has not been produced in regular reddish brown, so I've had to buy dark brown. So I'm going to build it with these, and if it stands out too much, I've got an alternative version which won't be quite as stable, but it'll at least be in the right colour. So first of all, the front and the back of the suitcase are going to be virtually identical. And what we've got is a 6x10. I'm going to add a row of 2x3 tiles along the front because we want to have a nice smooth finish. So there we go, 2x3s along that side, and then on the other side we're going to do some 2x4s all the way along, which gives us the front and the back of our suitcase. We've obviously got that gap there, so we're going to fill that in with a 1x10, and then that's our flat surface to start building the sides on. Then on each corner I've got these 1x1 by 1 2/3 bricks, and they've got 2 studs on the sides, and they're going to put one on each corner like this. Oh, that one's upside down. Let's put it the right way up, that might help. Like that, and then we're going to start attaching the sides of the suitcase to that. Now, because this side is 7 studs long, we're going to build the side of it in a similar way to the front, and we're going to get a 2x6, then we're going to add a 2x3 tile on one end, a 2x4 tile on the other end, and then like with this front, we're going to fill in the gap with a 1x2. Then that is going to sit on the side of the suitcase, just like that. And we're going to have exactly the same build on the other end. So we've now got the front and 2 sides. Next, we're going to build the top of the suitcase, and we're going to leave some connection points for the handles. And I've got 2 different options for handles, and again, I'd like your opinion on which one you think looks best. So we're going to start off with a 1x8 brick, and then underneath that, we're going to put a 1x8 plate, and then in the middle of that, a 1x4. Then each side of that, we've got these 1x1 bracket pieces with a stud sticking up. So we're going to have one on each side like that, and then fill in the gaps on the end with just regular 1x1 plates. And then that will sit in the middle here. And we've got the start of a suitcase and space for our handle to attach to. Now, up to this point, both halves of the suitcase are identical, so everything we've done so far, I've done again. And if we put those 2 halves together, you can really see the start of a suitcase. But next we've got to move on to that all-important hinge mechanism underneath. Now, this is where the 2 sides of the suitcase start to differ. On this side, we're going to start with a 1x8 brick, and then we've got these brackets. Now, these are 1x2 brackets with 2 studs on the side, but this is the one where the studs hang down. The other version of this is where you've got the plate and the studs sort of stick up in the air. We want the hanging down version for this side. So we've got a 1x8, and we're going to stick 4 of these along the top, like that. And then stick a 1x8 plate on the top of that. And then that is one of our sides for our hinge. If we put that inside the suitcase like that, we've got half of our hinge. Now, to get the spacing right for the other half, we're going to start with the plate, and we're going to use the brackets with the studs sticking up in the air. We're going to add those along the top of the plate. And instead of having brick brackets, plate. We've got plate, brackets, brick, that way up. And then this one goes on this side. And hopefully you'll see where I'm going with this. But before we hinge the two halves together, one important feature on the inside were these two side pieces which stuck up slightly. So when you closed it together, they sat inside and helped lock it in place. So we're going to need to add 2 of those on the inside of one of the halves. Now, because of the odd numbering, we've got 7 on the outside, so that means we're going to have 5 on the inside. And we're going to start off with a 2x2 plate and add a 1x3 plate on top and a 1x3 tile on top. And then behind that, we're going to add a 2x3 plate and do the same on the other side, a 1x2 tile and a 1x2 plate, and that will sit just on the inside here and give us that lip on one side. And then I built exactly the same again. I'm going to put that on the other side. That gives us our lip on the other side, and the two parts still fit together nicely. Now for the hinge on the bottom of the suitcases, I'm going to use plates with clips and bars which go together like this, and then obviously hinge. So on one side we're adding the 1x2 plates with the bars on top. I'm going to add 4 of those along. 1, 2, oops, drop that one inside, 3 and 4, and then on the other side we're going to add the clips. Now this is where we get the colour variation. What I wanted to do was add these 1x1 plates with the clips, so all the way along here, and then we'd have 8 of them, so 2 would clip onto each of the bar pieces on the other half. And if I do that with just 2, you can see that these clip together like that and make our hinge mechanism. However, they don't come in reddish brown, they only come in this dark brown. And I'm not quite sure if that colour sticks out too much. Now the only alternative piece in the correct colour is a 1x2 plate, but it only has 1 clip on the top. So if we add 4 of those along, they'll still clip together fine, but we do come up with another problem. So once we've got the 4 there, and then we clip the 2 halves together, it does mean that these 2 pieces can potentially slide up and down slightly. And although that was really easy to do in Bricklink Studio, it just goes to show once you build it in actual bricks, that piece is perfectly adequate because it's not going to move on its own at all. So now we've got a nearly complete suitcase which opens happily. But of course the minifigs can't hold on to it, we need a handle. Now the 2 features of the handle is that it is angled in ever so slightly, but it also curves round on the top, and I preferred the curve to the angle, so first of all I went for these pieces. My first handle design takes one of these curved bricks, and we put a 1x2 tile on the top, and then a 1x2 plate underneath that, and then we repeat it on the other side with a 1x2 tile and another curved brick. Like that. Now that's not quite high enough, so I also am going to put a 1x1 plate on the bottom of each side, like that. Oh, that one didn't come off. There we go, 1 on each side, and that's our handle, and then that's the shape we get on top of the suitcase, if I can put that down on both sides. But then I found another solution which is much quicker, much easier, but it does give us 2 studs on top, and that's using this piece. So I've separated our 2 suitcase halves from each other just so we can compare and contrast the 2 different types of handle, and obviously the new one, quick and easy, should just click straight on the top like that, and that gives us a quite different shape. And now I can look at these 2 in real life rather than just in Bricklink Studio. I think this one gives us the more accurate shape of the original briefcase. So I'm going to build another one of these and pop it on top of the other half. So if we take the 1-piece handle off and replace it with our brick built one on both sides, then we've got 2 handles the same. And if I then click the 2 halves back together, we've got our finished upscaled suitcase. And because the handle is 2 bricks wide, it's the right size for our upscaled minifig to hold. And so finally here we've got our upscaled workman going off to work with a suitcase for some reason, but also carrying an envelope. And he'll be taking them off to his mini loader to do some digging. Now if you've missed any of my videos recently, you may not know that I'll be displaying at 2 LEGO shows towards the end of this year. Because I live on the south coast of England, the first one I'll be going to is the Chichester Brick Festival in November, and then the following month, just along the coast, to the Southampton Brick Festival in December. And I'll be taking all my popular builds for my videos, so my upscaled space buggy and my upscaled mini loader, which will be finished by then. All the colours of every spaceman is awesome, my upscaled space babies, and my recent motorised micro command centre. And I'll probably take a few of my older projects along as well. So if you're anywhere near the south coast of England and you'd like to come along and say hi and have a look at my builds in real life, you can find all the details from the Brick Festival's website. And you can find that at brickfestivalevents.com. So as always, let me know your thoughts thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel out. And if you're interested in supporting my channel, the two ways you can do that are by either becoming a channel member and maybe get your name on a brick in my videos, or if you're buying Lego from Lego.com, you can use my affiliate link in the description below, and that doesn't cost you any more, but Lego give me a small commission on everything people buy. But whatever you do, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe for more Lego videos.